About a fortnight ago, she made history when she was appointed the first female Attorney General of the Republic of Kenya. I'm talking about Dorcas AG Oduor, who is our guest on the broadcast tonight. Good evening and welcome to the Daily Report. I am George Maringa. Our sign language interpreter is Rhoda Nyamai. We invite your feedback on the socials. Our WhatsApp number will be on your screens shortly, as well as the SMS line. What questions do you have for her, and what should her itinerary look like? We welcome you, even as we look forward to that conversation coming your way in a short while. But first, here are some of the top stories making headlines tonight. Tonight, after almost 2 weeks of nail-biting tension and rowdy wrangling, a deal at last. Kuppet and TSC agree to a deal that ends the teachers' strike amid regret over the lost study time. Kenya national football team Harambee Stars early today left the country for Uganda to start their 2025 AFCON qualifiers campaign against Zimbabwe, 6 years after the last appearing in the competition. And the family in Kajiado are distraught over the unknown whereabouts of their 16-year-old daughter, who seems to have vanished into thin air. Even as another family of a teacher in Kirinyaga reel in shock after the shocking sexual assault of their kin, a JSS teacher on her way from school this morning. We thank you for choosing TV47 to inform you. I am at George Maringa across the socials. You can also post to at TV47 News. Use the hashtag Daily Report, hashtag Power and Politics. We will be having that conversation coming your way in a short while with the Attorney General of the Republic. After a day-long meeting between the Teachers Service Commission and the Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education Teachers, Kuppet, the teachers' strike has been suspended in compliance with the court order that was issued for 5th September 2024. This as the educators wait for the resolution of their grievances. Anastasia Mukabi opens our broadcast tonight with that report.
It is a sigh of relief for teachers, parents, students and other education stakeholders after the Teachers Union Kuppet Secretary General Okello Misori suspended the teacher strike after the Teacher Service Commission agreed to have talks with the union in addressing their grievances.
In compliance with the court order which was instituted and which is coming up on 5th, that is Thursday. From the union side, we suspend the strike and ask all our teachers to go back to class pending the speedy resolutions of these matters as already agreed upon between us and the Commission.
Commencement of the new round of CBA this will commence once Kuppet submits their memorandum of demands. Parties have also agreed that other pending issues will be resolved through bilateral negotiations, as is the practice.
TSC Chief Executive Officer Nancy Macharia announced that she agreed to have the talks for the sake of the students and assured the public that the teachers will recover the lost time.
Working teachers, of course, we take cognizance of all that, and these are issues that we shall be resolving with our teachers as we go forward, so that all our students, because why we met here today with the union is knowing that those children are greater than all of us combined, and we shall join efforts to ensure that they cover the lost time.
In addition, Macharia assures the public that the Commission will not victimize any teacher for the industrial action.
The Commission has agreed with the union that no teacher will be victimized for participating in the industrial action. Anastasia Mkabi, TV47, Nairobi.
Thank you, Anastasia. Now, after a shortly before the Kuppet Secretary General Missouri agreed to end the teachers' strike, Nairobi County teachers held their prayers and later agreed to storm into secondary schools around Shauri Moyo area to chase away teachers who went to teach despite the strike. The striking teachers intending to force their colleagues to join the strike. Speaking during the prayer session, unionist Moses Mbora called out all the teachers who were not willing to unite with the others to join them, since it will strengthen the union as they address their collective issues to the Teachers Service Commission and the government.
Want to shout and tell our colleagues who are in school, who are taking themselves to schools and then sending us messages that come and greet us, and yet the person left his house and went to the school on his own. I want the message to reach them that the success of strike is determined by the ability of workers to withdraw their service and stay out of the workstation. It is not about walking into the workstation on your own and then complaining that we have not come to greet you. That is betrayal.
Away from issues to do with strikes, a 36-year-old fisherman died after drowning in Lake Victoria at Ngego Beach in Rangwe constituency. Witnesses say that Willis Okech slipped and fell in the lake while preparing to leave for fishing, and efforts by his colleagues to save him bore no fruit.
The tragic incident happened at night as Willis Okech, alongside his fellow fishermen, prepared to leave for the night fishing expedition. His fellow fishermen recall that one moment Okech was with them and the next he was nowhere to be seen, having slipped and fallen into the lake just as their boat set out to the lake.
Sasa hiyo report ndio nimepata, ndio tukachukua report, tulipelekea police na tumesapea hata watu wa fisheries na Kenya Coast Guard report vile tulipata.
The residents of Ngengu Beach, led by Geoffrey Osano, have asked the government to help them retrieve the body of their loved one to give him a befitting send-off.
So as per now, we are appealing any assistance that we can at least get from any of the body which is concerned, at least to allow us find the body as a family and retrieve the body back.
Addressing the journalist after the incident, the chair of Ngengu Beach Management Unit, Caleb Ochieng, believes that there is need for government to allocate sufficient resources to ensure the safety of fishermen to prevent such tragedies. However, Ochieng urged fishermen in the area to take safety measures to prevent such unfortunate incidents in the future.
Sasa ongea na wavuvi wakienda barini wakuwe na life jacket, waenda bila wakukunywa pombe na tie sheria ya fisheries, na wao walienda bila kufuata sheria.
Watu wenye wanaenda kwa baharini wanafaa wavae jacket, life jacket. Juu hiyo ndio maisha yao huko. Huko hakuna kitu ya kushikilia.
This incident comes just 3 days after Cabinet Secretary for Mining and Blue Economy, Hassan Joho, during the President's recent visit to Homa Bay County, promised to send a rescue helicopter to help with similar emergencies in Lake Victoria.
The Lake Victoria, we need to urgently procure a rescue helicopter ambayo itakaa hapo kuokoa watu wanaoenda baharini. Sasa President leo akikaa hapa akilipa amri na watu wangu hawezi lala, watafanya mpango watu wetu wasiwe kufa tena.
Violet Auma, TV47.
Thank you, Violet. Corruption, poor service and bad governance have been named among the issues ailing counties, with 69% of Kenyans of the opinion that the held docket should be returned to the national government, despite 66% agreeing that devolution is working. This is according to a two-year devolution scorecard poll report conducted across the country by Timely Kenya Limited. The poll results are further revealing Murang'a Governor Irungu Kang'ata as the top-performing governor, followed by his counterparts Kwale's Fatuma Achani and Trans Nzoia's George Natembeya, making to the top three. According to the poll results, the least-performing governors for the 2 years under review were Amos Nyaribo of Nyamira, Dado Godana of Tana River, and Baringo's Chiboy Benjamin. Governor Irungu Kang'ata topped performance in the health and education sector, alongside embattled Meru boss Kawira Mwangaza in roads, as Gladys Wanga took the top spot in the modernizing of markets. However, the polls further pointed out that the performance of Ahmed Abdullahi of Wajir, Makueni's Mutula Kilonzo Jr., Kisi's Simba Arati, Meru's Kawira Mwangaza, and Aidan Khalif of Mandera performance has declined. From that, Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja is pushing back against swirling impeachment rumors, labeling them as unfounded distractions aimed at derailing his administration's progress. Speaking at the opening of a new Dishina County kitchen in Umoja, Sakaja addressed the speculation head-on, assuring Nairobians that his focus remains squarely on delivering the promises made during his tenure. Sakaja also addressed circulating reports that he had been removed from President William Ruto's delegation to China, clarifying that he was never scheduled to travel, as his priority was overseeing ongoing projects within the city.
As always, hiyo vitisho tumezoea kwa muda mrefu, as we are focused on the work we are doing for the people of Nairobi. So please, our team in the executive, our team in the assembly, remain focused. What we have to do for Nairobians. Jana kulikuwa na documentary ya Sakaja at 2. If you look at what we've been able to achieve in 2 years, it is because of being focused and keeping your eyes on the ball. Keep your eyes on the prize. Muache mambo ya side shows. Na mimi vile niliwaambia, nafanya kazi na pande zote, watu walileta vuguvugu, hata nyinyi wengine mlininyorosha, lakini sasa ona mko wote. Kwanza hiyo roro, mimi nikianza broad based mlishika nare, but nilikuwa nimeona mbele that we must have to work broad based the whole of Kenya together. So mambo ya porojo msikuwe, na propaganda ni mingi. Nasikia ati sijui nimetolewa kwa ndege gani, na nilikuwa na hii function hapa leo. So forget those things that you see, focus on work. Hawa wananchi ni wananchi watakatifu. Hawa watoto, they deserve your undivided attention. Wake up every day thinking about the people who you represent, the people who have given you an opportunity to serve.
PTA members na wale wengine. Karibu kabisa mwalimu.
They have started feeding. That is
President William Ruto departed for Beijing, China on Sunday night for the 9th Forum on China-Africa Cooperation FOCAC Summit hosted by President Xi Jinping. This high-profile event, which brings together African heads of state, Chinese leaders and the African Union Commission, is aimed at enhancing Sino-African relations and exploring new avenues for collaboration. President Ruto has been accorded the honor of co-chairing a critical session on pursuing high-quality Belt and Road Initiative cooperation, a platform for modernization featuring planning, building and benefiting together. He was accompanied by First Lady Rachel Ruto and former Prime Minister Raila Odinga and a small retinue of leaders. Moving on from matters China and back into the country, a distressing incident involving a junior secondary school JSS teacher in Kirinyaga County has sparked outrage among the local teaching fraternity. The female teacher, whose identity remains protected, was allegedly raped while returning home after escorting her child to school. She was found helplessly seated in a bush where the attackers had reportedly carried out the heinous attack. The incident has raised serious concerns about the state of security in the area, and led by the Kupet Kirinyaga Branch Secretary General Njogumboi, local teachers are now calling for stronger measures to ensure their safety. The incident has been formally reported to the Kirinyaga police station, but the community remains in shock as they await justice for the victim. Teachers demand security after colleagues' brutal assault incident.
Naghadhabika asubuhi ya leo kukuta ya kwamba mwalimu mmoja wetu wa JSS amefanyiwa lile tendo la kinyama. Amedhulumiwa alipokuwa anapeleka mtoto wake shuleni. Akawa amenajisiwa katika kichaka hiki mnakiona hapa. Kuna kichaka kingine hapa. Hapa ngambo kuna shule mbili za upili na za sekondari za Gateway. Na yeye alikuja akakutana na jamaa akamuingiza huku ndani. Akamfanyia yake yote. Na alafu sijui alihepea wapi. Nikapiga simu na nashukuru kwa sababu wale ambao wanalinda usalama hapa wamekuja. Licha walichelewa kiasi hadi tukauliza kwani on the ground hakuna security.
We need protection in this area. It's dangerous. Look at it. Look, angalia vizuri uone venye panaka. Ni pabaya sana. Hapa tunahitaji either waweke fence ama tukuje tuchome. Tutachoma. Sisi wenyewe ndio tutachoma.
Nilipata mwalimu wa JSS Gateway Primary akiwa hapo kwa kichaka amejificha akiwa uchi, hakuwa na nguo. She was raped by an unknown man, so she asked me to give her some clothes to cover her nakedness. Then I gave her the clothes. Then after that I called the head teacher and they went to report in the police station.
How unfortunate. These year's KCSE candidates can now breathe a sigh of relief after the Teachers Union Kupet announced the end of a teachers' strike that had entered its second week. Earlier today, KCSE candidates who spoke to TV47 expressed fears of ill preparedness ahead of their final examination later in the year, stating that the strike had negatively impacted their studies. Our reporter Arnold Adidi tells us more.
The announcement by Kupet this evening ending the teachers' strike is without doubt a great relief for KCSE 2024 candidates who had resorted to study on their own amidst the back and forth between striking teachers and the government for almost 2 weeks now. Early today, I visited Chango Secondary School in Vihiga County, where only the principal and his deputy reported to work. A few candidates who came to school today could only do personal studies and group discussions.
Sisi kama form 4 tunaathiriwa na hiyo mgomo kwa sababu saa hii tuko peke yetu shule. Hakuna mtu tunaweza consult. Tuko wenyewe kama kuna mambo hatujui, hakuna mtu tunaweza uliza.
Wakati mwingine tunashindwa kupata majibu mengine ambayo yanahitaji kuwepo kwa mwalimu ili atuwezeshe.
With the candidates expressing fears of underpreparedness ahead of their final examination stemming from the just concluded strike, it is clear that teachers will have an extra task upon resumption of studies, which is scheduled for tomorrow.
The strike of teachers has really cost us as students, and it is also taking us behind with the syllabus coverage, meaning that maybe a few subjects have not covered the syllabus. So we want the government to deal with the teachers' strike and the teachers to come back to school so that we can go on with the normal lessons.
The school principal, Martin Wanyonyi, who also doubles up as the chairperson for the Kenya Secondary School Heads Association in Vihiga Sub-County, says that there is need for the government to provide lasting solutions to the unending teacher strikes.
Wengi wa wanafunzi hawako shuleni, lakini wale wako shuleni wanajishughulisha na masomo ya kibinafsi kwa vile walimu hawapo. Ni walimu wakuu labda na naibu wao ndio wako shuleni, na kuendesha shule bila walimu ni vigumu. Kwa hivyo ombi letu ingekuwa ni kwamba mwajiri wetu Teacher Service Commission na union yetu KUPPET waelewane ili mkomo umalizike, masomo yarejelewe.
Arnold Adidi, TV47.
Thank you, Arnold. A family in Ilbisil area of Kajiado County has embarked on a frantic search for their lost kin who allegedly disappeared in unclear circumstances. Speaking at their home in Kajiado, the family say that the child, who is 16 years old and a third form student, left home where she lived with her uncle in Nairobi but never returned home. The family say efforts to trace the child have borne no fruits and are now calling on Kenyans and the government to provide information that will help find the girl.
Alikuwa ametoka tu, alikuwa anakaa Utawala kwa ngo yangu. Akatoka tu kidogo, alikuwa anaenda kutembea kidogo. Mazoea yake alikuwa anaenda kucheza na watoto wa estate hapo Utawala. Kafika masaa zingine akatafutwa mpaka leo hatujui mahali yako.
Tunaogopa sana kwa sababu ni mtoto wa msichana na ni mtoto mdogo wa shule. Na siku hizi maisha inakuwa mnastukia mtu amepotea, mnastukia kesho mnaambiwa ameuawa ama ameenda, hatujui mahali yuko. Sasa tunaomba tu mahali yako, kama atatuona ama atatusikia, yeye mwenyewe arudi nyumbani, hatuna shida na yeye.
Mimi ni uncle wa Wipen, huyu msichana mwenye amepotea. Sasa sisi tulikuwa tunaomba, imekuwa wasiwasi kubwa yetu sababu kama vile siku hizi kuko unakuta watoto wamepotea, unajaribu kumfuata unaenda unapata amekuwa ni maiti. Mama mwingine unakuta amepotea, ameenda ameingia ulevi. Sasa tuna wasiwasi mwingi kubwa, tumemtafuta.
Tunaomba kama kuna mtu yote atakuwa amemuona, tunaomba atusaidie kumrudisha. Tunatulali usiku tukifikiria kwa wapi, tumemtafuta kila mahali, tuna wasiwasi sana.
Mwisho kuonekana ilikuwa Jumapili last week tarehe 25. Sasa unaona tumezunguka, imekuwa hata ni gharama, wasiwasi imezidi.
Ombi letu kama mtu atakuwa amemuona, tafadhali utuambie. Na kama dadangu last born wetu Nunu, hivyo ndo tunamuitaga, unatuona kwa TV, tafadhali ujue tunakupenda, urudi nyumbani.
Maasai women in Noikalel region livelihood has been improved after Great Plains Foundation launched the Naboisho Women Group project that aims to provide training and resources to the Maasai women to empower them, strengthen the local community and preserve traditional crafts.
We are here to celebrate the official opening of a guest shed and modern toilets, which will be used by the local women together with the guests from Naboisho Conservancy to actually bid together as an effort to improve their livelihood.
Japokuwa Great Plains wamekuwa wa msaada kubwa sana kwetu, manake wao ndio wametushika mkono kwa njia mingi hapa. Kwanza walianza kwa kutusaidia kupata shanga, wakatusaidia kuandika mtu ambayo ni mimi ninayosimamia hao wamama. Tena baada ya hiyo wakaona tunafaa kuwa na vyumba vizuri ambayo ni vya kisasa ambayo wageni wataweza tumia, na kifuli ambayo wataweza kaa chini na wapate kushona na wamama wakati watakao kuja. Sasa leo hiyo ndio kasi tuko usinduzi ama kufunguliwa kwa vile vyumba ndio tupate kufanyia kazi.
Sports News.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m. The Grind, where business meets brilliance. It's not just about the ideas.
I was working as a shampoo boy. I used to wash clients' hair on the sink.
It's about making them happen. From big wins.
In primary school, when we would be asked what people want to be, I was categorical that I want to be a nurse.
To hard lessons.
The consoles change, the gaming equipment keep changing.
We cover it all. Tune in to The Grind, where every episode is packed with insights.
The person who is serving customers, always be a customer-centric.
Strategies.
When you pay attention to detail, you get luxury items.
And stories to fuel your ambition. Don't just dream it, grind it. Mondays at 7:30 p.m.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora. Kutoka kwa ushindi mkubwa hadi masomo magumu.
Wakati wetu kwamba wasichana si wa kusoma, ni wa kuolewa, ng'ombe ipatikane, wazazi wakuwe watajiri.
Tunashughulikia yote.
I wish I were a better investor.
My parents taught me how to look for things for myself.
Tazama Mfahamu Kiongozi, ambapo kila kipindi kimejaa maarifa, mikakati na hadithi za kukuza azma yako.
For me to succeed, I have to fight.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
A very beautiful evening, and thank you so much for choosing to be here on TV47 and this special assignment. My name is Elizabeth Matuko. Remember, you can speak to us through 22047 as well. Our socials at TV47 Kenya on Facebook and X as well. Our any other social media space will be there to ensure that you follow this conversation. And today I'll be speaking with one great leader and a trailblazer, the first female Attorney General since independence. And by the way, Dorcas Oduor is one of the greatest leaders that's made history in the Kenyan history, being the first female Attorney General, a role previously which was held exclusively by men. But today, it's the space which she is seeking to lead the nation, even as we seek to hear a vision for this great office and the challenges which have been there and what she seeks to do differently. A woman and a leader who has been endorsed not only by any other person, but the president of this great republic of Kenya. Welcome, and thank you so much for working with us. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak to you. Again, I'll take this moment to say congratulations.
Thank you.
I will start by saying this. How does it feel being the first Attorney General, female Attorney General? How does it feel in the journey?
It's unique. It's expectant. And it's also a challenge. Even the feeling itself is a challenge. Mm-hmm. Yes.
I feel so good speaking to you because I know many other young women are looking up to you, being a role model. Yes. And one will ask, what vision do you have for this great office?
Well, as you might have heard already that I joined this office in 1990. I was actually in the presence of this office for about 20 years before the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions was created under the 2010 Constitution. So fast forward, I hope that my tenure here will transform this office into an accountable, responsive, efficient, effective, and people-centric administration of justice in Kenya. They look like many words, but the sum total of it is that it is an institution that will be a bridge in legal matters between the government and the people. If you listen to what the rule of law is, the rule of law is actually that there should be equity and equality in governments.
Yes.
And it depicts the government against the people so that the people can contribute to the governance of the country. The people can hold the country accountable. The people can be law-abiding people. So the rule of law actually is an equalizer within the legal framework. So I hope that this office will be that bridge that bridges the legal matters between the people and the government so that they understand their governance. They also contribute to their governance.
What plans do you have to ensure the independence of this office?
Well, the independence of this office is not organic, it's functional. In what we do, we are supposed to be independent. But independence is not independence from an organ or an institution. It is independence in protecting the Constitution.
Yes.
Meaning that you are not supposed to be swayed by any other thing, but you go by what is in the Constitution. So the independence is functional. So sometimes people talk about independent from the executive, independent from the judiciary, but no. The independence is to give you an opportunity to apply the Constitution as it is, so that when you make decisions, you are not
you know, you follow the law as it is, and then at the back of your mind, you have the public interest and the administration of justice as your guiding factor. So that is where the independence is.
One will want to hear how you will strike a balance between executive working closely with them because they need you as it is stipulated in the Constitution, and as well remaining on the side of public and the law.
By the way, you know, the whole government is on the side of the public and the law, not only the executive. But if you read the Constitution, the Office of the Attorney General is an arm of the executive. It then means that the people have given the current government power to govern, but the government cannot govern because it is amorphous. So it has to use a unit to do some part of what it has been given. And so the executive together, the Office of the Attorney General, together with the executive, form that arm that is supposed to enforce the law. So I wouldn't say that I am part and parcel of the executive, but at the same time, like the executive, I work for the people. So all of us in the executive are supposed to be working for the people.
I know in the past there has been friction between executive sometimes and this great office, which is a legal office and a principal advisor to the government and executive at large. But then at some times there has been, word has it, that the executive sometimes might not consider your advice. What are you likely to do? What plans do you have to ensure that when you give out your advice is taken?
Well, this question was
asked
of me when I was being vetted.
Yes.
I have told you that the Office of the Attorney General in the Constitution is under the executive.
Yes.
So together as the executive, we enforce the law. But the executive also does not exist in a vacuum. It has the legislature and the judiciary. And the apex is the presidency.
True.
So all of us are supposed to assist the president in governing the country. Now, we have the executive with many arms of the executive. Then we have the judiciary and we have the legislature. The Office of the Attorney General is just one of those arms within the executive. They should work together to inform the executive. So where the president sits, he's not only listening to the legal matters from the Office of the Attorney General, but remember all the ministries within the executive give advice. And you remember the Office of the President or the President himself is supposed to have the interest of the public at large, the region, and the international community. So legal advice is just one part of those arms that feed into the advice that the president is getting. And whatever he's listening to or not listening to, you cannot say that he's not listening to you because he has to process them all together. Are we together?
Yes, I'm
He has to
listening to
process them all together. I might give him legal advice, but the legal advice might be consistent with national security, with the stability of the country. So he listens to other people. That's what I'm trying to say. My legal advice is not the only thing that informs the action of the executive. All the ministries, all the organs of government, including the legislature and the judiciary, feed the presidency.
The president. So
Yes.
what exactly you're saying
As
is
long
that
as I do my part, as long as I do my part as mandated under the Constitution, and as long as the advice that I give is in the public interest and for the administration of justice, I give it to the consumer of my advice. He is supposed to process it and cook it and come out with what is now beneficial to everybody, including the other two arms of the government.
Kenyans can be sure that you will do your part. That is exactly
Yes.
what you're saying.
Yes.
In the recent past, also, we've seen cases being lost in courts, some bills being lost as well.
Yes.
And this comes with a lot of loss also when it comes to taxpayers. How well will you ensure that at least we curb that in the near future?
Yes. I'd also said before that there are many reasons why the government or any other party would lose a matter in court. And people lose every day, not only the executive. You can lose a case if you have a bad case. You went to court with a bad case. You have a bad case. Or you have a bad representative. Or you have a good representative, but insufficient legal representation, maybe because of one reason or another. Sometimes you hear that maybe the state council did not attend court, maybe because of many cases. So the person has the capacity, but maybe did not attend court. You can also lose a matter because the court has erred in interpreting the Constitution and interpreting the law, in which case you either go for revision or you appeal. You can also lose a matter for any other reason, in which case you take the appropriate actions. So there are many reasons why somebody might lose a case. And for your information, the Office of the Attorney General is successful in many cases. Many cases, more than 90%, we succeed.
Unfortunately, we see the 10%.
Unfortunately, it is the 10% that you see. And in that 10%, there are actually matters of public interest. So what we have discovered, or what has come to the fore with regard to the cases that we lose, that most of them are with regard to the Constitution 2010, public participation. And what I would want to tell Kenyans is that our Constitution is still new. We are still testing the Constitution. If you realize all the cases that we are losing, these are legislations that are meant to operationalize some portions of the Constitution. For example, public participation in budget making, public participation in law making. Sometimes you find that 2/3 gender rule. All these legislations are supposed to be operationalizing the Constitution. And what happens when you have a new Constitution? We will have to test it for a long time. We will lose, we will succeed. But that is how we find out whether or not the Constitution is working for us. That is why under the same Constitution, there is provision for us to review. There is a department that is dedicated to the implementation of the Constitution.
Sure.
And any other country, because of progress in technology, development, industrialization, what defined or what informed the Constitution New 2010 might not necessarily be present today. So we have to ask ourselves, was it fit for purpose? Is it still fit for purpose? Can we review it? And some of the reasons that would make us review it are some of these court cases.
Yes.
Because they're actually telling us something is wrong. Can you relook at your Constitution? Which is normal.
We have the case of housing,
Yes.
Which has been in courts.
Yes.
Push and pull
Yes.
has been experienced in regards to this.
Yes.
And it's something which to date has not been fully ruled on.
Yes.
And Kenyans are waiting to see what input you have in regards to this,
Yes.
because they're willing maybe to be taxed when it comes to matters houses.
Yes.
But still there is the question of public participation.
Yes.
And they feel that upon public participation, whatever they've given as their input
Yes.
is not considered.
Yes.
And while we are here, I'm left wondering whether you have something in mind to ensure that public participation is considered fully, not just a process which is applied and nothing is done.
I'm happy that you asked me that question. The reason being, the Attorney General had actually placed before Parliament public participation policy, which is pending before the two houses of Parliament. It is with the National Assembly and with the Senate, and we hope that very soon they will act on it. Secondly, we have two bills of Parliament on public participation that are being tabled, and then Parliament has also come up with a draft on public participation. So currently, we have recalled all the bills on public participation. The public participation policy is going through Parliament. We have recalled all the bills with the consent of the people who placed them before Parliament, and we are going to redraft the public participation bill. So what will happen in the next 1 week or two, we are calling a consultative meeting with all the main stakeholders to discuss with them the draft public participation bill. And the reason why we are calling them, because we would like to engage them from the beginning. Because the public participation bill must have enough public participation. So we are going to call stakeholders to engage on the draft bill. Once we have engaged them, we are going to request them to join us in undertaking public participation on the public participation bill. And we'll use all channels that we have. I'm in fact hoping that by the time that we call the main stakeholders, the draft public participation bill will even be in Kiswahili, so that we have both versions. So that when we present it to the stakeholders, it will be in Kiswahili and in English. Then once they engage their constituents, then we will converge again. Then we will be able to draft a good public participation bill, which again we will take through public participation. So as I had promised Parliament, I hope that in 100 days we'll have a good public participation bill that will take to Parliament.
Now that you've spoken of 100 days, I am looking forward, and Kenyans are waiting to hear what you have in mind for the 100 days vision before even we engage to other matters.
Yes. You see, for you to run this office or any other office, the structures must be there and you need a team. So one of the things that is not a problem here, but is actually a challenge,
yes,
is that the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution,
yes,
the Office of the Attorney General has just been delinked from the public service.
Yes.
So right now, we have to redraw our structure. We have to do an audit of the human resource. We have to fill the vacant positions. We have to create new offices so that we have enough manpower to achieve our mandate. So that will take some time, but we are working on it. While we are doing that,
yes,
there were some few things that we had promised to do. One of them is that we had promised to deal with the issue of legal education. We already have a committee working on it. The second one was the public participation bill I have explained.
Yes.
The third one was digitization. As we speak today, we have already started digitizing the probate and administration department. In fact, if you come on a weekday, you'll find a lot of NYS officers working on that other side. I think we've already digitized the 2024-2023, and we hope that in 100 days we will have something that we can present to the public. In tandem with the public trustee department, we also wish to digitize the marriage register and societies register, because we want you to be able to search marriages from wherever you are. So in 100 days, we will have somehow a register, a centralized register, because you realize that if you come to the Office of the Attorney General and you ask for a certificate of no impediment, we cannot give you real time because the different registries keep their registers.
Yes.
And marriages are being conducted by anybody, not anybody, many people, in mosques, in churches, in hotels. All these people are supposed to feed the Office of the Attorney General with information so that we can give you a certificate of no impediment. Without a centralized register, we cannot do that. That is why they take very long. Already, there was a press release yesterday asking all the marriage registers, marriage ministers to bring to us the records that they hold within 30 days. There is also a directive that from 1st of September, anybody who is conducting a marriage is supposed to send us a copy of that certificate to our central database so that we start having one database. We are hoping in 100 days we can come back to you and tell you this is what we have done and this is what you
I am looking forward to come back to you also to hear whether you've implemented that.
We've started already.
And I wish you all the very best.
Yes.
I know there is the public interest and expectations for you in this office. How are you going to ensure that all these historic appointments are different from yours?
I might not be able to say that they're different because the mandate is the same, but I'm able to say that as much as possible, I will try. I would try.
On execution.
I would try to execute my duties as expected by the people of Kenya, and I would try as much as possible to enhance citizenry faith in the Office of the Attorney General.
Yes. How do you intend to collaborate with other government agencies in delivering on your mandate?
You realize that the Attorney General sits in the Judicial Service Commission?
Yes.
So we will participate in the Judicial Service Commission to make sure that we, not only the interest of the executive, but that it can achieve what Kenyans expect of them. Then we also support them from our side. The Attorney General also sits in the cabinet. So we'll be able to work together, collegiality, with the cabinet so that we achieve the aspirations and the goals of Kenyans. The Attorney General also sits in many other seats and committees.
Yes.
By sitting there, we are supposed to realize a unity of purpose so that the country can achieve what the country should achieve and we can help the president to govern.
There is something very critical you've spoken of on constitutional reforms, and the question of also constitutional amendment has been within the public and also leadership, and they feel it's time some of these laws are amended to achieve the greater picture of the republic and the vision of this country. I don't know, from where you're seated, do you think it's the right time for constitutional review and amendments in this country?
Not only that it is the right time, but our constitution is 15 years. You realize in South Africa, after 10 years, they had to review their constitution and they came up with very many new things. 15 years is sufficient time for a country to relook at their constitution, because in 15 years, if you realize, many things have changed. Many things have changed. Geopolitical issues, social issues, economic issues. So the constitution is ripe for review, but you cannot do it by yourself. So you have to take it back to the people. And parliamentarians are the representative of the people. So as the Attorney General, we can only inform and nudge the wider government to tell them that it is time for constitutional review. And if they agree with us, then we start a conversation. And our work is to facilitate the conversation.
Is it something you'd consider doing?
Yes. I even said it in Parliament, because our constitution is 15 years. You remember there are many things we are grappling with.
Yes.
Even the role of the county governments, how they are funded, their functions, the role of Nairobi as a city, whether it should be a county or it should be a city, the role of the
deputy
national
government,
the role of national government in functions in the counties, where they're supposed to be dependent and interdependent. What is dependence? What is interdependent? Independence? All those things are not making sense. So we really have to translate these things into real issues. Yeah, the role of the deputy governors.
Yes.
How do you recall your MP? These are issues that the public is grappling with. So by us opening a conversation on how well we are implementing the Constitution and how well the Constitution is serving us, and whether it is fit for purpose, is an issue. So there is need, yes.
For that. I know we had BBI too,
yes.
And I know you followed the case closely.
Yes.
And the initiator of the BBI,
yes,
which was a good initiative to some clauses, and some clauses were not, and public participation was also a question, which came through the courts.
Yes.
I am seated here knowing also there is the NADICO report, which recommends on opposition leader, and the question of two-third gender rule.
Yes.
Is this something you think should be implemented now and within the time we have towards the next election?
Now, the role of the Attorney General is to facilitate, because we have a department in the Department of Justice whose role is to monitor the implementation of the Constitution. So, at the Department of Justice. So actually that department ought to have started a conversation on how well, or the challenges of implementing the 2010 Constitution. As a facilitator, I cannot go into the substance. I'm supposed to make sure that the process is within the law and that people participate in the process. But when it comes to the contents and the substance of what should be done, that now goes back to the public.
And you're willing to assist?
Because at this level, if I talk about what will be changed or not, I would be wrong, because I do not know whether that is what Kenyans want. Yes.
All right. I know very well the Office of Attorney General is very critical in this country. But how will you ensure that is felt across the nation and its role understood so well? There's the civic education bit of it.
Now, we spoke about today was our open day. It is a start, where we want to go to Kenyans and tell them what we do, ask them whether they're satisfied with our services. We are asking Kenyans to tell us how we can serve them better and how we can collaborate and coordinate in this, because we are acting for them. We hope that these open days will not only be in Nairobi, but will go to all the regions. But other than that, we hope that we will decentralize to all the 47 counties so that we bring services near to the people. But we also keen in making sure that, the rule of law is not only, it is substantive, it is procedural and substantive. You cannot tell somebody about the law, but they do not know about the law. This law must be available, it must be accessible, and it must be understood. So I'm very keen in the manner in which we take the law to the people. Because if the people understand the law, maybe in a manner or a language that they understand, they will participate better. Such that even things that you think that are not very, that are very difficult, might not be very difficult if they understand the rationale, why it is in the law and why it is being enforced. So we will use that concept of the rule of law, where the law is available, the law is accessible, the law is, and then people have the tools to access, and then they can also hold us to account. Yes.
All right. I know very well there has been awarding of very hefty awards when it comes to court cases regarding governments. And that is one thing which has seen Kenyans lose a lot.
Yes.
Taxpayers' money.
Yes.
And I am seated here wondering what you have in mind in regards to that, to ensure that at least there is better way of doing this.
Yeah. The Office of the Attorney General is supposed to be the principal legal advisor to the government.
Yes.
You know who the government is, isn't it?
Yes.
The 3 arms of government. Now, we are hoping that we will be involved in most of these matters from the beginning, so that we don't do postmortem. Postmortem meaning after the fact. Because the Attorney General is always brought in after the fact. There's very little you can do.
Yes.
So if it was a bad case, if the provisions of a contract were not good, there's no way you can deal with it. So we don't want to come after the fact. We want to work with the government ministries from the beginning so that we inform them or we advise them on how we can cushion the government. But should it be that this matter must go to court, we will put our best foot forward. And that is why I talked about a strategic litigation department that will be able to respond to cases which are of serious nature, which touch on national security, economic development, our stability as a country. And this will be a team that will be supported by experts, because you find that the Office of the Attorney General, most of them are legal. You might need a financial expert, a tax expert, a procurement expert. So it will be a multidisciplinary team that is able to defend the government. Secondly, there are cases where you don't have to go to court if you have a bad case. For example, somebody has already finalized a contract and they want to be paid, but because of exchequer issues, we don't pay them. Then they end up going to court. So we have to embrace ADR, alternative dispute resolution mechanisms, mediation. And also, as we do that, we do a risk assessment. What will it cost the government if we have to defend the government to the end? So after doing the risk assessment, we will do what is in the public interest.
You've said that sometimes the Office of Attorney General, there is nothing much you can do. And I am seated here also wondering, is it time also we expand the mandate?
Not that there's nothing. I was talking with regard to sometimes cases that come to us. For example, let's say malicious prosecution. Somebody has already gone to court. They already have an award from court. Now the Office of the Attorney General is supposed to enforce the award. Now you realize you were not there from the beginning.
True.
These matters are being brought to us at the tail end, where now people want to enforce their judgments. If we talk about contracts, everything has been done to the end. We were not there before. For example, we'll be able to tell you, if you put this clause here, if you don't put a clause on mediation, arbitration, then the only alternative is going to court. So if you were not there to advise you to cushion the government when you're doing the contract, it will be very difficult for us to now advise you after the fact.
Yes.
That's why I was talking about after the fact. Some of those cases come to us after the fact. So all we do is firefighting. So we are hoping that we will not firefight. We will be part and parcel of these ministries and agencies working together from the beginning so that we own the cases and we're able to do a risk assessment of the cases.
The issue of two-third gender rule has taken ages, if I may say so, and especially considering that since the implementation of the 2010 Constitution, this is something which has never been done, or little has been done on this. And being the first woman Attorney General, how well are you going to ensure that women get their space?
I am sure you must be very happy with the president now, because you have seen he is taking an affirmative action to make sure that appointive, look at the cabinet, appointive and appointive, because that is where he has the power. In appointive positions, he's trying as much as possible to bring women. At the same time, when it comes to elective, that is something totally different. But these matters are pending before court. So we are hoping that we will study the situation and give our advice. But I'm sure that in appointive, slots, there has been an improvement and there will be an improvement. Yes.
On elective, that is where the challenge is.
That is where the challenge is, but that is a wider conversation and the matters are already pending.
14 years of constitution.
Yes.
In a scale of 10 on implementation,
yes.
How many can you give? How much can you give?
I haven't done the math yet,
yes,
so I don't have the data.
But at least you've seen the implementation of this constitution in
yes.
this country.
But you can see, for example, in ministries, you saw my heads of department. We are 80% women. Where I came from, in the office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, they might not hold very high positions, but it is 65% women, and they are rising up the ladder. So it is that rising that will also propel them, because you can't just come from anywhere. It is those progressive steps that we are, we are climbing that will eventually land us somewhere. And I think there is a lot of improvement.
And there is a lot of goodwill, according to you?
There is a lot of goodwill, I assure you.
All right.
I'm a beneficiary of it.
I can see that, and
yes.
I am happy for you.
Yes.
I know you are in the ODPP office.
Yes.
And here you are today.
Yes.
You were not appointed in those in that office to head that
yes.
The ODPP.
Yes.
But here you're seated. Do you consider it being a blessing not being appointed on that office and being here today?
I would say that God's time is the best. And I will not say that because even when I was not appointed, I had learnt a lot. I studied a lot. It is like it was meant to be. So I'm embracing it. And I think that the time was not right, and that is the time. But what I would like to tell women and everybody else also, you really don't have to be at the top to make an impact. You don't have to be at the top. If you listen to my story and the story of many other people, we were not at the top, but we were just able to document our journey, and wherever we were recognized. For example, I'm the only female in the civil service who is a senior counsel, and that is the highest somebody can go in the legal fraternity. And I was in the office of the DPP, I was not the top. Now you can see even your peers and your profession can recognize you. I have presidential commendations, which people don't have. So you really don't have to fight to be at the top to have an impact. And if you're a Christian, I will tell you something. If you read the Bible, you realize that when Jesus was supposed to start his active ministry, there was somebody who was paving the way. And the person got as much accolade as Jesus. So even if you're just paving the way and you do it your best, you'll still have an impact.
You don't have to be at the helm.
You don't have to be at the helm. Wherever you are, because when you are at the helm, the next door is an exit door. But if you are down, you have the luxury of time and of counsel. Yeah.
This is my last question because I am told my time is up. But then there are what is the greatest challenge you foresee in this office and how you're likely to tackle it?
Well, the challenge in this office is not one.
I would like only
These
one.
These are challenges in the whole of the criminal justice sectors.
Yes.
But I think the challenge in this office, how do we enhance people's faith in this office? That is the challenge. How do we enhance their faith? And how do we make Kenyans a law-abiding citizen?
Have you said we are not law-abiding?
If we were law-abiding, then we would embrace the laws. We would also defend them because it is us who have made them. Yes.
I know the greatest challenge in this country is corruption. From where you're seated,
yes.
Do we need to tighten the knob further on matters corruption?
We need to tighten the knob further. And as the Office of the Attorney General, we have one tool, which is the Asset Recovery Agency. The Asset Recovery Agency is supposed to deal with civil forfeiture and confiscation. We are going to use that tool to enhance the fight against corruption.
I will be having a conversation one day with you in regards to corruption and the rules therein.
Yes.
Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity. Being the first woman Attorney General and being the first interviewer to interview, especially in this country, and I appreciate.
But you were in the open day today. What is your view? You haven't commented.
It was a great move and a great start. I appreciate that this is the spirit you've started with. I hope it gets better with you, and we will work with you.
And I hope you also find time to tell us what we can do better, because we are not perfect, and our door is always open.
Thank you so much. Let it be wider open for us and also for Kenyans.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching TV47. It was a great conversation with Attorney General Dorcas Oduor. Therefore, keep it TV47. We are much more lined up for you.